Hi again, everyone. This is Jerry Serino of From the Median Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, love being here with you. Please connect with us on all the different social media apps and on fromthemedian.org, where you can connect with us and see the history of our episodes. Hey, I'm very excited to have a great guest for you today, Ann Fundner. She is an angel mom, and here to tell her story of losing her son to a fentanyl overdose. It's obviously a horribly, horribly sad situation, but she is using this tragedy to try to fix things and make things better and better life for others. And she's here to tell us all about her story. Anne, thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Any advocacy, get the word out is that's what I do. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, and thank you for being willing to share this story. I'm certain that it's difficult and not something that you exactly wanted to do. Right? You would uh,
Mm,
you know prefer to obviously have your son back. So let's start
yeah.
with that. I mean, there's so many issues here at play. It's not just fentanyl. It's not just open borders, ignoring of federal law by our government that has caused this to happen to so many families. It's not just you, it's so many families. Let's start with what happened.
Well, my son was 15, just barely 15. He turned 15 a few months earlier. And he was private schooled his whole life. And he freshman year, second semester of freshman year, he wanted to go to public school. He didn't like the school that we had sent him to as a freshman year, and it just wasn't working out. So we decided to let him do public school. And, you know, it was big, it was overwhelming. There were a lot of people, a lot of crowds, a lot of different, groups. And
Mhm,
he had some friends before he got there, but the group of friends that he decided to make friends with were probably more of the wild ones that, like, had a lot of friends, had a lot of fun, had a lot of parties. And you know in a moment of peer pressure and through encouragement, really, and I know
mhm,
that for a fact because I've heard the stories. He was encouraged to try something. Now I think that he thought he could get away with it because um his doctor had discussed taking Percocet for his hand that he had hurt, but it wasn't bad, it wasn't broken, and I
mhm,
said no, and the doctor agreed. It's really too much for a child to do pain medicine, and I would really encourage any parents who are thinking of putting their kids on pain medicine for anything, just start with the highest dose of Motrin and Tylenol that you can get
mhm.
before even considering that. But I said no, but he had heard it, so I think when that was offered, I just think he thought he could score some cool points and be, one of the guys and, you know, get away with it.
Yeah.
As many conversations as we had, as involved as a parent as I was, I knew where he was at all times. I checked his phone. I was room mom, and we had a great relationship. He spoke to me. He felt like he could talk to me. He talked to me about the girls he liked, and we had great conversations. So I did everything right, and I know that. Parenting is hard, of
Yeah,
course,
sure.
but I did everything I could to be a great parent and room mom. And I tried to get into the school and volunteer as much as possible to be near him, chaperone on the field trips, dinner every night, sat at the table, church twice a week. But more than anything is we were happy as a family. We were just such a close family, and we did everything together. And so this, to me, it was something I saw on TV. It was never going to come into my house. And I want to make that clear to all parents. And that's where I really want parents to relate to my story, because my son wasn't an addict. He didn't have, he was a typical teen, no doubt. And if we were
Mhm.
all honest with each other, we can all look back to our teen years and say, man, sometimes I don't
Certainly.
know how I survived. So I want everybody to know that he was a typical teen, no doubt about it. And, he thought he was invincible, like so many teens do. And he found out that he wasn't. He tried
Yeah.
something and it took his life. One
Yeah.
time.
Right. One time. And it's so incredibly sad. And I think I look at situations like this when I think about them, and obviously this could happen anytime, right? It
Yep.
could happen 20 years ago, 50 years ago, sadly, right? These
Mhm.
types of things could happen. It kind of
Mhm.
reminds me of a situation if someone in my family or myself, I'm a victim of a crime, and I find out that the person who did it was let out of prison or something, or didn't wasn't properly prosecuted, and you think, oh my god, this could have been avoided. And
Yeah, no doubt about it.
yeah, and that's how kinda how I feel, as though, when we and this leads us down the whole discussion of the open borders, and so much happening on the borders, and not that it's just the borders, but we know drugs have been pouring in.
Mhm.
So this tragedy happens, and you're now a mom who is just obviously devastated, unimaginable pain, right?
Yeah.
I couldn't even imagine. Uh, how do you handle that from there? Because you obviously have become an advocate.
Yep.
Tell us kind of that progression into obviously mourning, and then saying, I need to do something about this.
Well, I was just talking to this with the amazing and wonderful President Trump's chief of staff, Susie Wiles, today, and I said to her, I said I'll never forget, I'll never forget sitting on the couch and just thinking, I can't let this happen to another parent, and that's when I knew that I was going to stand up and fight. I knew that I was going to get up and fight because she had asked me, how it's going. Um, you know, sometimes, so, people, get up and fight. Some people don't. And I told her how important it was that I was up there fighting. And um, I knew I was going to stand up and fight. And I'm a fighter. I always have been. Before my son died, I was in politics. I was in conservative politics. I was in media. I was running for Congress. I had just announced like about 2 weeks earlier. Um, and so I'm a natural born fighter. I know that, just like Susie, she's incredible. And I want everybody to, take a moment and give her prayers for what she's fighting. But I decided, I'm going to get up and I am going to fight, and I'm not going to let another parent feel this pain because it was so painful. I will never forget the pain in my heart, just finding out, sitting there, my world is turned upside down. Pieces are all over the place, and I don't know
Mhm.
how to put them back together. And I just thought, this can never happen to another parent. And I knew that I was going to fight.
Yeah. Well, good for you, and we're grateful for that. And in this fight, if anyone searches, if you're listening and you say, oh, I'm going to look her up, which I think a lot of people do when they're listening, and Anne with an E, Anne, Fundner, you got to meet the president. There's video of you, with President Trump,
Yeah.
and you obviously were just you off the air. You were telling me you were just at the White House, and you just now, of course, mentioned that you were with his chief of staff. Tell me what that was like, and going from uh, to again, the incredible loss, to wanting to be an advocate so that no one else felt your pain, and then you're standing up with the president of the United States.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't okay for a while, and I was just
Hmm.
kind of in a fog, and I had 3 other kids, so I had to be okay, but I
Hmm.
wasn't. And, you know, I decided, you know what? I don't like walking out the front door. I don't like the way my neighbors are looking at me, and I don't know what they're thinking. And my son died of fentanyl, and you feel like there's a stigma, even though like my son wasn't an addict. And, you know, I would go to Starbucks where he used to sit with all of his friends outside at Ocean Ranch, and I would drive down the road and pick up my kids where he used to go to school, and I just couldn't do it anymore. And so I decided that, we're going to pack up, put our stuff in storage, and we're going to travel. So for that first year, it was really numbing. I
Hmm.
had joined a group for Lost Voices of Fentanyl. I had talked to the founder, and I said, I want to. I want to help moderate, if you guys ever need help. And right away, she made me a moderator. And so that group really was responsible for helping me get through it. It was a bunch of angel parents all trying to navigate together. So we took to the road. I don't know if that was a good idea or not, but it definitely, my kids were now, my middle is now my oldest, my other middle is now the true middle, and my youngest is still bouncing off the walls. But,
Mhm.
um, you know, it was important that we had that time together, and just that was my way of solving, how we're gonna start to understand this new dynamic in our family with our son, who was really the leader of our entire family, of my kids. He was like the
Mhm.
best big brother in the world. And he was my firstborn son. He was my everything. And so we took to the road and traveled, and we ended up back in our hometown. It's also where we buried our son. And it ends up that, it was good to be close to Washington, D.C. Once we landed, uh, I had a friend who she was getting involved with something called Moms for Liberty. And I said, maybe this is a great start. I'm about to have my kids back in school from homeschooling, and, they fight for children. I still have 3 living kids. I'm going to get back up, and I am going to fight for my ones that are still here. And I was fighting, they go into the school systems, and, all this ideology that they're teaching, all the indoctrination. I wanted to shield them from it. I already lost one. I don't want my other ones to be, indoctrinated and, used as whatever they do in these schools, political pawns and indoctrination dolls. So I joined Moms for Liberty, and that was kind of my way of standing back up and fighting.
Yeah.
It was about a year and a half in, and then I got to tell you, my faith was weak, and I kind of got to a point where life wasn't working, um, and I recommitted my faith. And within a week, I was getting a phone call from someone at Moms for Liberty saying, "Hey, you know, the RNC is looking for people who have stories, border stories, who have been affected by the open borders. Would you be willing to talk?" And I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." So they connected me. They started the process of interviewing, submitting my story. And at the end of the day, I got chosen to speak at the RNC. And I just remember standing there realizing that I'm about to go out in front of millions of people, which I didn't realize. I was like, "But this isn't going to be televised. It's only
Mhm.
Tuesday night." They're like, "Yes, it will." And the president's going to be sitting right there, and things changed. And I just wanted to get on the stage and off the stage as fast as possible.
Yeah.
But I delivered a speech that I really was not expecting to have the effect on Americans, especially mothers in America, that it did. And that really started my crusade in this fight. And since then, the doors have just been open and endless. And President Trump, what an incredible man. And I challenge anyone to say otherwise to me, because I know who he is, and he loves us. He loves everyone, and he's done so much in this fight. So I I absolutely love him, and the whole staff, and they're doing everything. 50% reduction in fentanyl deaths.
Mhm.
Zero border crossing things in my fight, and I'm just grateful um, that I'm able to be a part of it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. I know it's difficult to relive so much of this, but again, you're doing it in order to hopefully prevent others from feeling the same way. I want to ask some questions that maybe many of us just because we don't understand, and you probably didn't before this. Is how does the fentanyl get in a pill? So again, you mentioned that when we were all in high school and we all did stupid things and we were typical and we drank too much or did things like that. And then yet in this case, uh this pill that he took was it laced with something? Was it how did it get in there? Was it did he think it was something else? Did someone slip it to him? How does it work?
So it's 100% deception. They think they're taking a Percocet or a Xanax, or now with all of the education of the army of parents, because the last president did nothing,
Mhm.
the parents have been left to educate. And I think most kids now know don't take something if it says Percocet, but they are fake pills. They are not laced. They are not a pill that you put something in. They are absolutely 100% counterfeit, just like a counterfeit dollar bill. Yeah, they don't, there's nothing real about it. It's mixed somewhere in Mexico. It comes from China. The precursor chemicals come over. There's over 1,000 different fentanyl analogs. There are 150,000 factory workers in China that make these drugs. It is not the same as fentanyl that you get in a pharmaceutical situation or in a hospital. People need to know that this is not your doctor prescribed fentanyl. The chemicals are not even similar. But these fentanyl analogs go over to Mexico, to the cartels. They are pressed with blue press powder. They have a pill press that looks identical to Percocet or white, and they make the bars that look like Xanax. It is 100% pure press powder with fentanyl, and fentanyl alone sprinkled in, not measured, nothing's perfect in it. They just kind of sprinkle it in and eyeball it. And 7 out of 10 pills are deadly. These kids think they're taking a Percocet, Xanax, oxycodone, uh, um, ADHD medicine.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how they've disguised it. They think they're taking that, and it's really, there's none of that in there whatsoever. It is 100% pressed powder and deadly fentanyl. If you cut the pill in half, 7 out of 10 pills, like I mentioned, are deadly. There's a chocolate chip cookie effect. When you eat a chocolate chip cookie, sometimes all the chips are on one side because it's not mixed with blenders in a
Right.
professional setting. So you might get the side of the pill that has all the fentanyl in it. My son took a quarter of a pill and he got all the fentanyl. It takes 2 salt grains. That's it. So to compare, if you go to a, a restaurant and you order a glass of wine and they bring you grape juice and they put cyanide in it and you die, did you die because you drank a glass of wine? 100% no, it's 100% poisoning, it's deception, and those people who gave you that grape juice laced with cyanide should be tried for murder. And that's what this is. It is no different. When Tylenol in the 80s had, I think, 6 or 7 pills that killed people that were laced, and they never caught the guy, by the way. 6 or 7 people were killed by capsules of Tylenol. They removed millions of bottles of Tylenol off the shelves and acted fast because it was killing people. So that is the same thing. It was a
Hmm.
complete deception. My son's case was and when I found this out, it was really heart wrenching. It was treated as a homicide. So my son's case was open. It was a murder investigation. Um, so that's what people need to know. It's not pharmaceutical, not it's not laced. They don't open up a pill
Right.
and shut it. It is 100% fake. And it's deception.
Okay. Very interesting. I didn't fully grasp all that. That makes it pretty clear and tells you how dangerous it is. Because obviously, again, your son wasn't a drug addict. He wasn't intending to do something. Just doing what we all probably did at that age and doing stupid things and you know the illegal mixing you pointed out about mixing and how
Mm-hmm.
they're doing it to that's intriguing. I didn't fully grasp that you could
Yep.
take a portion of a pill, but that's where all the fentanyl was, is a part of it. That how do you feel then as an angel mom when you see these drug boats being blown out of the water? And I know it makes me happy.
Amen. Yeah.
How does it make you feel then when people defend those boaters, those people out fishing, right?
I feel sorry for those people that think
Yeah.
that because it just shows how incredibly susceptible to brainwashing they are
Mhm.
to protect people that are there to bring something over that will kill your children, or kill you. And it's not discriminatory, trust me. And it doesn't matter if you're gay or if you're trans or if you're black or white. And it makes no difference what religion you are. It will kill everybody equally. So I just think that if someone's that, you know, just lost, that they can't think for themselves and see the good in taking out cartels' boats, cartels that could give two craps about you.
Hmm.
They just want to sell their product to people, and they don't care if people die. To hear people like that being offended and defending that action, to me, is, I just feel sorry for people who think that way.
Yeah, that's very gracious of you. I don't know if I would respond the same way. In the last few minutes that we have together, and again, thank you. I'm here with Ann Fundner. She's an angel mom, and sharing her story and how she's fighting to stop this fentanyl poisoning and killing of our families, our children, as well. I want to ask you about the people in, you mentioned the prior administration that
Hmm.
stood by and did nothing. I mean, the borders were wide open, people were being let go with no consequences, soft on crime, illegal immigration everywhere. We know that children were being trafficked, women were being trafficked through the illegal entries, obviously drugs. Does the other side not know, or do they not care?
Oh, they know. They don't care. They care about winning. It's the Future
Mhm,
Voters of America program. They just want bodies here for the census so that they can redistrict in their favor. Once they redistrict, those people who they let in for free, and they give free medical care, free apartments, free cell phones. And you go into any hospital, an emergency room, there's several hours wait because they get free medical care in there. Our veterans are sleeping on the street. They're there. Everything they get, food, everything is free. They don't even pay taxes, and so their allegiance is to vote blue.
mhm,
So that's all this was. They didn't care about my son. They didn't care about your kids. They didn't care about the 500,000 people who are dead. And by the way, it's a very underreported number. CDC put out provisional numbers that were a guesstimate. The real numbers came out. It was over 100,000 last year of Biden, and those are the actual real numbers from CDC and all the data. And plus, there's a lot of coroners who don't have the correct training to be able to test for things like fentanyl. So it's an incredibly underreported number. About 500,000 people died under the Biden's watch. So they knew, they didn't care. I would even be willing to bet that they are helping out the cartels, because there's a multi-billion-dollar industry that we're talking about, and that's not going to die overnight. And they run elections, and they got a lot of money, and people are very motivated and influenced by money. So the last administration did absolutely nothing but uh, you know facilitate it, really
mhm.
invite and then facilitate the epidemic, not to
Yeah,
mention all the violent crime that's happened. I
yeah.
mean,
Oh, I mean, the cases of rape skyrocketed all throughout the country. Again, children being trafficked, women being trafficked. It was,
yes,
I forget the number exactly, but it was what, 300,000 undocumented children that they just lost
awful.
track of. They didn't know where they were. Well, I think we have a good idea, and these people just did not care. I agree. They wanted bodies. They wanted people to, to be votes and to get
Mm-hmm.
redistricted based
Yep.
upon the population.
Yep.
And so they can win forever. And then they can say, hey, forget all of you. You can dislike what we're doing all you want. We're going to win.
Yeah, and they
So,
would not care less. I mean, they're sitting there saying about talking about ICE agents and humanitarianism. By the
mhm,
way, when you come over the border by cartel members, I can't tell you how many little girls come with how many samples of semen, because they've been raped along the way. There's nothing humane about it, but
mhm,
they get their bodies for the census, and if we deported everybody, we would pick up about 16 seats, and that's all this is about. And now you see them panicking because we are trying to make the changes necessary. We're taking, illegals out of the possibility of voting, which you can't even believe that was on the table for the Democrats. But
mhm,
so now they're just trying to redistrict anyway and just completely cheat. And thank God we have a good Supreme Court turning these things down. But That's all it was about. And if it
Yes.
turned out that way, they would be there with the vans to help deport because they don't care about illegals either.
Yeah, no, that's very true. Very true. Well, I want to thank you, Ann Fundner, Angel Mom, for coming on and sharing your story, and certainly for all that you're doing. You're fighting for all of us, for the unknown person that could have died from this type of tragedy. And you're doing great, great work. So,
Thank
Ann
you.
Fundner, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, my pleasure. And thank all of you for listening to this episode of From the Median podcast. We will see you next time.